Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the GB channel for this week's session of peer review. I have myself, JT, Cam, and this week's guest, Bassgalaxy. And real quick, I see you guys going ham on the subs. We still appreciate that. We will still honor those, but we're in the process of trying to move over to YouTube. So if we can, we would like it for you guys to go straight forward to donations because that would make the transition for us easier. So yes, we will be honoring subs, but donations have priority in this stream. Now that that's over, Bassgalaxy, my guy, my dude, Ryan, you're
What up?
actually someone who we found out about through these streams, and time again, you have stolen the show. So we're glad to have you as a guest this week. How you feeling, buddy?
I'm good, man. Glad to be here. I fucking love this stream. I love like just the whole concept of feedback streams in general. I'm happy that you guys have been doing this just cuz it's so much fun and you guys have like this little community now, which I really think is awesome. But yeah, I'm stoked. I'm stoked to do this.
And speaking of community, you're one of the first platinum card holders. You're someone who added to GroceryBoiz because of these streams. But I
Yeah,
do
hell
believe
yeah.
you have a release. I believe you have a release coming out next week. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. This is I haven't made any announcements yet, but I've been sitting on this track for a while. I really love like techno and hard dance, and I've just like kind of thought I don't want to be a one-dimensional like dubstep tear out artist. So this is a
Thank you
little
for your
bit different than
contribution.
what I've released before. Um, I'm pretty stoked to put it out. I can't wait to see what people think because I haven't put anything out like remotely close to this. So I'm excited. So
So we have Thrusters by Bassgalaxy. JT, why don't you take us away?
Let's go. Thrusters, Bassgalaxy. Oh. You guys didn't tell me this was quiet as fuck.
it is a little
Bro,
Like-
bro,
like-
I thought I was just tripping.
No, I thought fucking I thought you were gonna tell me, right? If anybody was gonna Oh man.
You
Okay,
know,
okay, I'm
noticed
res-
what I actually
I was just-
unplugged my
I was
headphones
just gonna
and
be-
put it back in.
yeah.
I was like, yo.
Alright. We're redoing this, it's gonna be a lot louder, so little warning.
I promise. I promise this song isn't quiet at all.
Much better.
Shout out to Anonymous for the $13 donation.
The smell of death surrounds me.
Dan donated anonymously.
Warpcore with the $40 donation.
Four Core said happy birthday, Cam, with that $40 dono. What's up, Adeptist?
Thank you.
My bad. How do I turn this down?
The smell of death surrounds me.
Ooh! Ooh! Y'all complained about me being too quiet before, and now I'm way too loud. I can never please you guys. I'm trying. I put a limiter on it. I put noise suppression on it. Hopefully this sounds better. I can put a VST on it as well through OBS. I don't know what should I do? You guys tell me.
Put Mishby on your voice.
Mishby on the master.
Put Mishby on your mic, yeah.
I'm not Nerve. I can't do that. I can't pull it off.
Yeah,
But that was oh my god, that was so clean.
That was clean as fuck, and then the little like halftime tease on the B section of the first drop was so satisfying, and I feel like that set us up perfectly for the trap-esque drop, the second one. So that was sick as fuck. You definitely time and time again and showing us versatility, but I'm not here to review your tracks, so let's get into our first review.
Hell yeah. First review is gonna end up being 4Core for donating fucking $40. Happy birthday, Cam. All right.
Here at GroceryBoiz, our friendship can't be bought, but our opinions can.
Oh yeah, no, not really. You were still mean to everybody last time.
Yeah, I know, but they paid for my mean opinions.
Okay, that's true. All right, Goofy 4Core. All right, I put a 3-band equalizer on my mic now. All right, so the idea is definitely there on it. I just feel like the overall mix down on it is a little bit just washy. Like the synths aren't cutting through as much, and that like I don't know, like that kicky clap type thing was really
It's the
bugging.
drums for me
Yeah,
that aren't hitting hard enough.
but I mean, I do like the synths and everything. Like I like the sound design and everything, but I just feel like the levels need to be brought up. Kind of like my mic.
Yeah, JT actually said a lot of what I was going to say, so I'm proud of him in that aspect. First things first, there is no intro, and I would have given you a little bit of leeway if this was something that was uploaded maybe like an hour ago or a day or two ago. But at this point, it's been here for a month, so you need to focus on writing a proper intro to lead us into the drop, because the drop itself isn't bad, but there's just no build up to it. So when it comes in, I feel like the lack of structure could be compensated for if there was something teasing what you were going to do synth-wise in the intro. But as far as the drop itself, I am also a fan of the synths that are going on, but I'm just running into a lot of stereo issues because I feel like everything in this track is extremely wide, and you need to decide what the main focal point of this track is going to be, whether it's the laser synth, the oscillated laser synth, or the square four style thing. Something needs to sit in the middle, and right now everything is just extremely wide. And I think you need a more present sidechain so those drums can really cut through.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. You know, you guys basically said everything already, but you got to just do something with the intro and all the space after the drop. You know, this really does feel like just a whip. And then yeah, as far as stereo, I was gonna kind of say the same thing. I would, well, one, maybe choose a different kick or do something to the kick just to have a little bit more transient coming out. And then maybe look into mid-side EQing some of the elements of the drop. It all just feels kind of one-dimensional right now, and I think I would love to maybe hear some contrast between stuff super wide and like super upfront phantom image sub and stuff like that. So yeah, I don't know. Just keep working on this mix. Um, that's really all I got for this one.
Guys,
You have said everything
if
that I was gonna say.
you guys gotta put your names in the tips, like or like in like the message or something, because a lot of you guys are donating anonymously on accident, I believe. I got a 421 with no message, and I got a 421 that says "Light one up, boys." So, if you guys could at least type like a little like dash your name or your Twitch name or something, I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm actually
Well,
not
I
sorry. I just
donated without a message.
okay, Oathkeeper, I
That's
got
a
you.
lot of
Yeah,
people.
it's only yeah, so it's just two. One of them said light one up, boys.
Bet.
You can send the SoundCloud link in the email, and then the tip is just the tip, but just make sure you at least have like your name selected or a message with your name in it.
Real quick, 4 I just read your message, and so if you're still learning, like this is a good tune. Like the idea is there. I feel like the structure itself isn't bad. So you know how to make sounds, you know how to structure a drop. So what I want you to focus on in all these tracks right now is just keep it simple. You know what I mean? Keep it simple so you can really nail the mix aspect of things. Because that is the most important part of a song. It doesn't matter how dope your synth work is. If you're not mixing them down correctly, it won't shine through the way it's supposed to, and things won't hit the way they need to. So just take a step back, just really focus on mix sounds and like more stereo, because you just need everything to fit in the right place.
Hell yeah.
For someone who's still learning, this is actually like really good for where you are. Like Devin said, just keep it simple. And
Yeah, 39 followers.
intros, like giving
Composition's
it
there.
an intro would definitely give the listener something to grab onto as the track starts.
Hell yeah. All right, all right. Next up, we got Yucky Charms, who donated subs and donated to the stream.
Real one.
So shout out Yucky. Oh, and this is a rare, serious Yucky Charms whip. It's not a meme thing, so this is lucky.
Is it even a Yucky Charms tune without a aura or even a worry not, my friends? Because I have for you a bonus meme.
Here it is.
Where's your BB?
Yes.
Like actually slap. All right, so while the meme part was funny, I think you should cut that part from the tune, and honestly make that meme tune a separate tune because the actual music part of it was pretty tight. Just get rid of the.
Yeah, no, he said that was just for a bonus.
Oh, okay. All right,
Yeah,
all right.
yeah. Tune.
No, okay. So the actual tune is fire. I really like the drums, and I like the flow and the sound design. The drums, honestly, are my favorite part. They come through super nice, and they smack.
Yeah, I like the intro a lot. I mean, it was a little like, as Sweet Tooth would say, like worse Danny inspired. I think that's a little rough. I don't like to. I'm not gonna say that, but
You kind of
it
did.
like kind of it like immediately reminded me of like a Void tune, which I love. Like I don't really have a problem with that, but just keep that in mind. That that reminded probably a lot of people of Danny. I was kind of missing like some reverb in the drop. I think maybe after every like bar phrase of that that bass that you had, maybe do like some tasteful reverb throws or something, because I did get a little bored after like the when the B section came in. So but yeah, I mean, this is sick. I think maybe just add a little bit more like sexy stereo width in a creative way, and that I would pay for that little meme at the end. That was fucking gas. So good job.
Hell yeah.
So, oh, sorry, JT, you go.
No, I was just saying another Yucky Charm. You make such good fucking music. Even when you do like when you're doing serious tunes though, you just make fucking one drop. What is this? Like cock tease stuff that you always do to us. Like why? But I love it.
So, I think you excel when you're doing joke tunes, and I think when you do joke tunes, you alleviate a lot of the pressure on yourself to really sit there and write a banger. And because you're able to play something off as a joke, you're able to go in on it and have fun, and you end up writing bangers. When you're writing a more serious tune, I feel like you start to doubt yourself and doubt your capabilities. But that being said, this is not a bad tune at all. I like the sweeps. I like the pitching up on all the synths. I thought the call and response was really cool. And to me, you kind of reminded me of Manly, who, in my opinion, is doing this style very well. And I think he's doing it the best. So I would actually like you to go and study some of Manly's music, because the one thing that was missing for me in this track, besides the reverb, was just a lack of saturation and distortion. Like these synths have so much potential, but there's just this lack of brightness that I felt where like I knew they can hit, but they just weren't hitting for me. So I don't know if that means OTT, Mishby, like I don't know if you have the reason rack, you can throw Scream on there. There's a million different ways you can brighten up these synths. But if you brighten up these synths, this will be a fucking attention grabbing banger. And as far as the intro, I feel like, yeah, it was Danny inspired. I personally wouldn't go as far as to call this one worse Danny, because I know I'm kind of infamous for that. But I think.
All right.
Damn,
My
so
bad.
Base Galaxy did what you did, and that's crazy.
Fuck.
I think it's okay to use. I think it's okay to use him as a blueprint, because Danny was after my generation. I mean, me and Danny are the same generation. So he wasn't one of my influences coming up. But like for me, a huge influence is like Murda or Funcase or, you know, like Cookie. And you can make the argument that I bite them or that I'm worse them. But what I do is I use their tracks as a reference. And once I have that blueprint down, I go in and add as much of my own personality until it's almost unrecognizable. So for the intro alone, I would like you to go and make it more yucky charmed, and then for the drop, more saturation, distortion, whatever. Just I want those fucking synths to punch me in the chest.
Fair. All right. Next up, we got Mob Ties Dan.
Ooh.
Shout out to Dan for the $13 dono. We love you.
Oh. Goes out to people who take all their toppings off their pizza.
And wipe off all the tomato sauce.
Oh my god.
It kind of goes. I would buy pizza from here.
This is tight.
Well, if they don't pick your song, they're fucking up. You guys deserve that free pizza for life or whatever they're giving out to the people that do the next song.
Oh yeah, this is that pizza place
Competition song,
you were
yeah.
telling us about, dude.
He said it. The way he worded it, it says, "This pizza shop released the stems for their jingle.
Yeah.
Pizza for a year and $5,000.
Yeah, I hope you
Let's
win.
go."
I hope you win.
Ah, that was fucking banger.
Yeah, that was tight. I enjoyed that a lot.
Yeah, I love this, and I'll say time and time again that to me, the tell of a good D&B producer is their choice of drums, because I feel like that is the most important part of D&B. The only things I would say is I would like these vocals to be louder. I feel like they're the main thing carrying the track, but I feel like they're falling a little bit more into the background than I would personally like. And I could be completely wrong with this, Ryan. You can give me a second opinion, but I feel like that snare, although a good sample, could be pitched down a couple semitones, because I just felt like it was out of key and it was kind of throwing me off.
Yeah, the snare did feel just a little out of pocket. I listen to a lot of DMB, and you don't hear like those kind of. I don't know. I mean, it's a nice snare, but I was actually just thinking the tail was just a little too long, and it was kind of like the whole drop. I was just hearing that snare, and like it was hard to pay attention to everything else just because it was just like ringing over and over. So yeah, I mean maybe fool around with the pitch, but definitely just clean it up a little bit. Just the tail was just a little tiny bit too long. But I mean the mix is pretty great, and the sound design's awesome too. I love that thing that you have on the downbeat. That sort of like deep dub roller thing. It was fucking cool. Obviously this is like kind of a joke track, but like the mixing is actually pretty nice. So yeah. But fix the snare.
Dan, I need
Or just
I need
play
you to make
around
me a
with it.
promise. I need you to promise me that even if this song doesn't win, you just need to still add this in your sets.
Oh yeah, that shit would
Yeah.
go off. Especially if you do like local shows and shit. People like fucking Pizza Nova. Oh, let's go. All right, next up we got Devil. Shout out to Devil for the $12 dono.
$12.34 to be exact.
Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4.
I see what you did there.
Shout out to Try to Nope for subscribing. We will get you in the queue after the dono queue. Yeah, Nair, you're next.
This artwork is nuts.
Yeah. Shout out to AR Rolo for the 500 bits. So I really like the flow of both the first and second drop. Like I enjoyed how you went straight from intro right into the drop without any like little stupid fake out or anything like that. Just got straight into the business. I just feel like both drops felt just a little bit mono and flat compared to what I know you've made before, where they just felt like they had so much like depth and texture. Like I couldn't even really tell if it was like mixed down as correctly as I thought it was, just because everything was so like flat on top of each other that I don't know, I couldn't really pick apart the layers as much as I could with some of your other tunes. That's just my opinion though.
JT,
Yeah.
what the fuck happened between this and last week? Because like this is the most technical, on point advice I've ever heard you give, and you've been giving it consistently. I'm proud of you.
People are giving real money now, so I feel bad if I just say, yeah, that sounds sick.
It's fucking sick. Yeah, I couldn't tell if this was like a whip or not until the second after the first drop. And now, like after I heard that, it was like almost silence. I can tell this is a whip. I think the thing that was bothering me the most was how, well, the repetitiveness. I would go a little bit more. I would lean more into variation, and it sounded like in the B section of the drop, you were going for variation with like another bass layer. But it just wasn't mixed properly, and it just kind of felt like something in the background that was added to the A section of the drop. So yeah, I would just say add more detail and work on just making that bass in the A section just crazier and wilder for a switch or something like that. And then I don't know, as far as like intro wise, it sounds like you have a pretty good idea going so far, but you need more instruments. You need more like just orchestral stuff. You know, I want to hear a melody in there. I want to hear more like build up drums and making things sound like super cinematic. But yeah, I think that's all I got.
No, I 100% agree with everything that. Oh, sorry, you go, Ken.
No, I was gonna say I agree with what he said about having more of a build up and cinematic stuff like in the intro. Also, like JT said, it felt like everything was flat on top of each other. The drums were not hitting hard enough for me. Like I could barely hear the clap, and it didn't sound like there was like enough sub either. But yeah, Devin can take it away now.
Yeah. So I think the overall theme of today is stereo, and I do apologize for bringing up this issue, but it's just kind of like we just happen to have a couple songs in a row where they just had the same issue of everything lying in the same layer, and when that happens, it's hard to differentiate everything that's going on, because instead of having your kick, your clap, your snare, your ambience, etc., it all just comes into one muddied one just muddied layer where you really can't pick apart what's happening. And I think that's what's really happening here, because the synth itself isn't bad at all. The flow is cool, but like it's just so buried by everything that it's not bringing me in. It's not drawing me in. So one, I think there needs to be more saturation. Two, I think like if you want this track to be led by that one synth, then you need to compensate with more percussions and more background noises, more impacts. So there's just more going on, and give the track more movement, because it did get a bit choppy for me. And I also agree with Ryan where it felt really repetitive. That B section just felt like it just felt like a loop of the first section. And when the second drop came in, it felt like the same thing again. So by that time, I just didn't care. I also agree with Ryan on the intro. There just needs to be more there. There needs to be more build up. There needs to be more things tying that intro to the drop, because the intro by itself is cool and the drop is cool, but there's nothing really tying them together. So when the drop comes in, it's just kind of like, okay, this is a tear out synth. Fuck, who the fuck cares? Also, I wouldn't start the bridge completely over. I feel like you don't need to build up from the same start that the intro started from. I feel like you just lose a lot of the momentum that you built throughout the drop. So when it's time for the bridge, I would have it come more orchestral and less minimal.
Hell yeah. Some good notes to go off of. All right.
Guys, I feel like we're fucking cooking today.
Yeah. It's a good ass day. Next up, we got Nair.
Let's go.
Nair donating twice to bump themselves up to the front. Ooh.
Oh, this is groovy.
Will, what the fuck? Are you fucking kidding me? Oh my god!
This is insane.
Fuck off! Fuck it, one more time! God, these pots and pans remind me of old Joker. Nah, this is fucked.
That pause is so
Yeah! God, that was beautiful from start to finish. Like, no notes.
That was
No
really
notes.
yeah.
Yeah, dude. What the fuck do you want us to say? Are you kidding?
I think we should go off on all the things that this song does correctly, not for his sake, for the sake of everyone else in this chat that's trying to learn, because I feel like there's value to that.
That's true.
Okay.
I mean, I just really
I
enjoyed
think
how
it
like the
mixed
pots and pans shit, like
very
it.
properly.
Yeah.
Like, very well. Everything sounded so clean. Like those pots and pans sounded so like clean. Like it dead ass like it didn't sound like a sample. It actually sounded like there was somebody sitting there fucking drumming on pots and pans or some shit. Like that was nuts.
It sure reminded me of like old Joker.
Mm-hmm.
That shit. Oh my god, it was so clean, so funky. Like, you just kept the like groove fresh the entire time, and like your little fill, how you switched up your fills almost every time. It wasn't the same shit. Like, even if it was like a little like toned down pots and pans or something like that, it was a different tone each time. Like, I really appreciate that.
And the pauses, the pause and the second drop, those were really good. Those were really good, and it like almost up the the energy like once the pause went down. Like it got us even more hyped on the tune. Like that was just a banger from start to finish.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean,
So, oh wait, no, Ryan, you go first. Sorry.
okay. Wait, now I forgot what I was gonna say. Oh yeah, like taking away from, you know, more beginner producers, I think the biggest takeaway from this track, all of Nair's tracks, are how much care and attention goes into every little individual element. You know, Nair isn't just slapping a bunch of stuff together and calling it good. You know, they're going in and focusing on every little thing and making sure it's perfect. Like everyone keeps saying clean, where you get cleanness in a song from really paying attention to every single EQ, every compressor you're throwing on there, and obviously the drum choice and the transients and the sub relationship with the kick and everything's like perfectly done, right? And I think that's what a lot of people struggle with, is just they don't want to take the extra time to go in, you know, maybe solo something and look for little problems and clean them up. And Nair did that beautifully in this track.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So Nair, everything you've sent so far has been good. Good mixdowns, good ideas, but nothing really grabbed me. Like, and I'm not talking trash about your music. It's all been great. But this right here was one of the most impressive displays of musicianship that we've ever had on this stream. Whatever you did, whatever your thought process was here, I want you to carry that into everything you do. This is unique. This is fun. This is heavy. And more importantly, this is you. Like, this isn't a matter of you being a great producer. This is a matter of you being a phenomenal musician. Every piece of this drop or of this song, every individual layer has an exact purpose, and it serves that exact purpose.
Yep.
And the way you're able to control stereo, the word that we've been saying over and over and over again, the way you're able to manipulate each sound and bring it back when it needs to take a step back and bring it forward just for a second so it shines, and it goes back right where it needs to be. Nothing's cluttered. Everything just pops. Like, dude, phenomenally done. I tip my hat, my beanie to you. Give me this tune so I can play it in my sets. I will find a fucking place for it. This is amazing.
Yeah, send me this, please. Also,
Yeah,
shout out Dubstep too.
This is definitely a tune
Dubstep
that would
too.
get like a huge crowd reaction just off of like how unique it is. Like I could see this like being one of those tunes where everyone just like actually stops and pays attention like in the middle of the crowd. Like even people who are just like stuck in their K-hole, like that would bring someone out of a K-hole because it's so unique.
All right. All right. Next up, we got Oathkeeper, Just Joe. Shout out to them for donating subs and also donating to the PayPal. Real one. Yeah, this second drop is infinite times better. So the second, I know you said feel like the first drop sucks, and I'm just gonna have to agree with you there. But the second drop
Fuck.
definitely, like
Bro.
you brought it back. Like the flow sound, like Trent said, the sound design was a bit sloppy, but that's true. Like the synths were a little bit washy, the cymbals were a little bit harsh in the high ends, and that vocal was a little bit too high in my opinion. But the idea is there, and the flow fucked. Like honestly, the flow was really good in the second drop, and the way you like had some spaces and shit in there, like I really liked it.
So I think that like for me, the biggest thing for me is just that it's the sound design. But like you're not like, you've only been doing this for like a short amount of time, so that's to be expected. I think the structure of this song is actually really good. Like you have gotten a really good understanding of the structure of like the tunes that you want to go for. And I think now you're kind of at the point where you can kind of dial in on your sound design and like your sample selection and like really get things to like sound the way that they should.
Yeah, to play off what Cam said, I'm actually really impressed here because I feel like our biggest thing of feedback to you was to stop focusing on sound design and really learn song structure because that's what you struggled with the most. But dude, this is your best laid out track yet. Like the intro made sense, into the drop, which made sense. I liked the direction of it. I feel like the way it progressed, it was a natural progression that kept my attention the entire time. Your use of drums was really good. Like I like the way that you were able to use drum fills to give yourself a breath of fresh air before you went on to the next section. So, dude, like you're still learning, you're still new at this. I get that, but I'm really, really proud of how serious you are taking your growth, and it's really showing because you're getting good quick. So now that you understand how a track should be structured, it's time for you to start working on making your sounds better. Because right now they're just flat, they're boring, and that's fine. And if you don't want to spend that much time on, making your sounds from scratch, don't be afraid to use presets. Don't be afraid to use samples. As long as you're post processing them in a way that's you, then that's cool. Like you'll learn the sound design as you go on. But one thing too, a lot of people in the game right now don't really spend that much time making sounds from scratch. Like a lot of people, what they do is post process. So don't be afraid to post process sounds that are more of what you're going for, if that'll help you, bring your ideas to life.
Yeah, I just had a few things that kind of just stood out to me. So whether you have like just like an all pass or you're doing it within Serum or Vital, you have that disperser thing going on at the beginning of your bases, and when that all pass, when those frequencies go from like all the way at the top, all the way down, you're hitting so many high harsh frequencies. So when you combine that with like your hats that also have the same frequencies, you're basically just duplicating, you're doubling those frequencies, and that really stood out to me. I was like just focused on the high end the entire time. So maybe turn down your hats, or alternatively EQ a little bit of those harsher frequencies down with that disperser effect. And I did notice the other thing that was kind of bothering me was just how the sub pattern and the basses were off. The sub was just kind of doing its own thing at one point, and maybe that's what you're going for. Sometimes that actually works really well for like weird bouncy patterns, but I think in this case you might just want to stick to the sub and your bass patches being hitting at the same time, because it got a little confusing. But yeah, I mean, that's all I got, I think.
Hell yeah. All right. Next up, we got Clayface. Shout out to Clayface for donating $20 on accident. Sorry about that.
Legend.
Sorry, one last thing. I think your kick was had too much tail on it, a little wide. That's the last thing.
I love it when they play music at the drug festival.
All right,
There's
all right.
toilets in this coke room. Jesus.
Ezo remix tune. Let's go. No, I think that's a solid ass idea. I know you said it's rough and you haven't mixed it down properly yet, so I'm not gonna dock you points on that, but I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the flow. I did enjoy the second drop switch, but I do agree with Crucial's third. Who said that? Node B6 switch that went hard as fuck. But yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, besides mix-down issues that you're aware of, I think when the background sustain first comes in, it was at a pitch that really fucking bothered me. But then when
I
you
was
brought it
just
up an
about to
octave,
say
it was-
that.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I like just that something about that sustain when it first comes in bothered the absolute fuck out of me. But when you pitched it up, I feel like it was exactly where it needed to be, so that was satisfying. Besides that, I feel like you should either have the second drop be the switch of the first drop, like the B section of the first drop, or because right now the second drop is structured in a way where it makes sense as either a second drop or a switch. So either put that as the B section of the first drop, or restructure it just a tad to make it more sense as the initial hit of the first drop, and then have the first drop as you have it be the B section.
Yeah, I completely agree with that composition idea. I would definitely try that out and see where it gets you. I mean, I didn't really have much. The drums were bothering me a bit though. I guarantee you, if I'm playing this on anything besides like headphones, I'm not gonna hear the kick transient at all, and I'm just gonna hear like that little sidechain dip. So either soft clip your drums more and just turn them up literally, or maybe you know throw some compression on there to bring out the transients a bit, because I think this drop would it would do a lot better if the kick transient was just like really nice and snappy and tight. But now, right now where it is, it kind of more feels like a hip hop kick, which I mean, maybe it's a personal preference, but I don't like hearing those kind of kicks in Tear Out. And then I did say there was just the very first bass that comes in for your first drop. There was just a little bit like 5 to 8K resonance that kind of caught me off guard. So maybe just throw another EQ on there. And I mean, you said you're aware of the mix problems, but yeah, and maybe turn up the sub a little bit. That was the other thing that I had. I'm craving a little bit more low end in this track.
Yeah, I agree with Devin and Bassgalaxy. The sustain was like, I like the sustain. I like where it sits in the tune. It's just something about it, like Devin said, when it comes in is kind of jarring. But other than that, I think the idea is super sick, and I think you should finish it because I think this would be a super heavy tune.
All right. Next up, Spider. Shout out Spider for the $13. What was that? It doesn't matter. They donate money. Shout out Spider. Disrespect. Ooh. I really enjoyed
like
that
that a
fucking like
lot.
the Prodigy style fucking intro and
Yeah, that
extro type
intro.
shit was fucking hard. Like that was very very clean.
I really like the flow of the sound design in the first drop, and I like that it switched up. Like the second drop wasn't like copy and paste or anything. Like it switched up to like a totally different style almost, and I like that a lot. I do think that the the transition from build up to drop could have been a little bit more impactful. Like when the drop hit, it didn't give me that impact that I was hoping for, and I think that you could do a little bit more there.
Yeah, I understand what Cam is saying. I think a lot of things in the drop could just be louder. Um, I like the drop. I like the sound design. I like the flow. I just it just needs to be louder. It needs to be brighter. And then this needs to be. I feel like I've been saying tighten everything up, but I want this track to do the exact opposite. I want this to be wider. Um, And I would like a more intense side chain on the kick because like I was not getting any mid range from that kick at all. It wasn't cutting through. Um, but yeah, this reminds me of like prime Osla days, you know. So like the idea is really cool. I just brighten it up. More loud,
Um,
more wide, bigger kick.
yeah, I think
wide.
the drums just need a little bit more sauce on them. I was noticing the clap like was just super buried. Um, and maybe just cycle through a bunch of kicks in your library and see which one fits the best. I was thinking like the intro comes in a little too abruptly, like it's like you're just immediately hit with acid, which is cool, but I think maybe you could just slow it down a little bit so you get that build up to that really cool like trap intro verse that you have, and then just maybe think about the song structure a little bit. But the song writing is great. This is like just makes me feel badass. Like I love the like power chordy disperser on a saw wave thing. I'll never get over how that sounds. So yeah, just keep working on it, but this is going to be a solid track for sure.
Hell yeah.
Huge banger for sure.
All right. Next up,
Yeah.
oh,
No, Spider, that's exactly how this tune makes me feel.
Wow.
all right. Next up, we got Noisy Boy.
Oh,
Shout out Noisy Boy.
Should I update Q right now, or should we just keep going through?
Update
Q. I
Q.
feel like
They're being very
pretty
nice.
decent.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, okay. So it's Noisy Boy, then Raindrop, Osriel, Kaifu, then here I gotta go back to this other fucking page. Man, Anonymous. God damn it. Quinto, Hoods, Trigabite, Frogor, and then we got AR Rolo who donated 500 bits. Then
Oh,
Alanator.
I thought you were saying $500. Jesus
Yeah.
Christ.
Alanator subscribed with Prime. Trends 2 gifted subs. Then
And
rest
a
of the-
donation.
yeah. Oh fuck, he's did the donation too. He just did the
He did a
donation too.
$7 donation.
Damn it! All right, so yeah, Trends is gonna be up like after Raindrop then. All right, all right. Next up, Raindrop. Oh no,
next
no,
up is-
fucking. I'm not high. All right. I've got to take a bong rip too since he donated. Damn. All right. You fucked me, Trends.
I'm just losing my mind. Losing my I'm just losing my mind. Losing my I'm just losing my mind.
Okay, before anyone says anything, there's one synth that happens as soon as the drop is done. I swear to God, if you don't continue the drop with that synth as a focal point, I will find both of you, and it won't be pretty. That synth is so fucking cool, and I feel it's a perfect transition coming out of what you guys did for the entirety of the drop. Perfect switch, and it keeps the energy going, and it's just like, just trust me on this. But besides that, I think the synth work is really dope. I think that there's some clashing. Not that like the sounds themselves are clashing. I think it's more of a fact that you guys haven't left yourself much headroom. because the song sounds a little quiet, but it also the mix down itself sounds a little bit slammed. So I'd like you guys to go like shave off the unnecessary shave off the fucking frequencies of shave off unnecessary frequencies. Give yourself more headroom so you can bring the volume of this track up without completely clipping it.
Yeah, the only thing that I was really like, but that was really actually bugging me was the quarter note bass in the drop. Just you need to EQ that high end, like it just goes like it's like a hissing sound. And if that's pushed, on a PA system, that's the only thing people are gonna be hearing. And yeah, I definitely agree with maybe just turn everything down just a smidge and then see if see what you can do to clean every little individual aspect, because it does feel just a little pushed a little too hard. And also, Skylar, fuck you for that artwork. I hate you so much. That ain't me. I don't know who the fuck that is, but that's not me.
That's hilarious. No, I think this tune is a banger. I agree with what both Devin and Bassgalaxy said. So like the actual like sound design, I really think is super cool. I think you guys did like a super dope job on that.
Yeah, and a fun little funky flow. But
Mm-hmm.
like Devin said, that fucking synth. You
Yeah, that do something with that, please.
you can't just tease that shit and just be like, oh, end a song. That's fucked.
But also, this is I've been hearing a lot about Scare. Actually, I just found out who he was like this week. I think Utsukari had shared one of his tunes, but this is the second time I'm hearing him this week, and been thoroughly impressed with him so far. And Noisy Boy, you already know I fuck with you, so stoked to see what you guys do with this tune, and stoked to hear more from both of you.
Let's go. All right. Next up, Raindrop now. Sequence. The very last synth
Wait.
that you teased. Wait.
Do you want to show him that synth real quick?
Okay. Gotta fucking find this email again. Is it right back here? Is it fucking? No.
Yeah. That synth. Like literally that synth. Just that needs to be its own drop. Or its own section at least.
It's all good. It's all good. It's worth it. We want to hear another fucking drop with that synth. All right. Now, Raindrop sequence. All right, who would like to go first?
I'll go first.
Yeah.
I'm sure Devin's gonna say something about the mix down. I'm sure you guys all are, so I won't focus on that too much. Other than I think maybe tame the wideness just a little bit. Maybe some mid-side EQ or imaging or something. I was more focused listening to this. Your bass line, that melody that comes in with the bass. You go from like the tonic and then that second note. It just goes up like a whole step. It's like the second note in the scale, and I think it was just a little hard to pay attention to. Like, I think you need more of like a hook with the melody that's going on, because you're hitting all the right notes, but I don't think they're hitting it in the scale at the right times. So I would definitely take another look at the MIDI going on here, because someone said this track does have a lot of potential, but there's just something about it's something a little off kilter about how your melody is being phrased. Yeah, maybe, and then just maybe focus more on the tonic. I think everyone said they liked the second drop more, and it's because you have like a really nice straight bass on that low note, and then the first drop it's a little bit more all over the place. So yeah, just take a look at your like the musicality of it, and see if you can come up with like a really catchy melodic hook.
Yeah, so since it has been bestowed upon me to talk about the mixdown, I will say that the vocals need to be louder, because I feel like what you're really trying to do is have a vocal melody driven drop, which I think is really raindrop. I like the vision there, but the vocals just aren't loud enough. And I feel like what you're doing with your actual bass and your synths is you're using them to accent your vocals and bring them out more. But neither of those are bright enough, and I feel like the bass is following the vocals in a way that makes sense to me. But what makes this track not make sense, especially in the first drop, is the melody that you have your sub doing. I understand wanting to have an interesting sub, but when you have your sub going on its own pattern and melody, and it's off time with what the vocal and the synth are doing, it just throws everything off, and I don't know what exactly I'm supposed to focus on. And since the synth and the vocals aren't bright enough, the sub is the most overpowering thing, but it's just very apparent that it's out of key. Not that it's out of key, but the phrase is just off. But when you brought everything around and made it more unison on the second drop, it made everything more simple. Everything made a lot more sense.
I agree with both of you. I really like the idea that you have going on for the first drop. Like, I was vibing to it, but then I kept noticing something in the background that was like something was not right. And then Devin said it in the chat, and it was a sub, and I was like, that's what it is.
Like, there's a
That's
bit of
why
that, and
it
the
was
mids
hard for
fighting
me
for each other, the
yeah,
space.
it was like hard for me to keep up with like the melody and like of the flow of the song. Like, I was like, wait, what am I supposed to be like vibing to? Like,
Yeah. All right. But yeah, I think if you fix up the sub on that first drop, and just keep that like, I enjoyed the groove of it, but yeah, it was kind of hard to follow just with the bass, but
and the idea of the tune is still
yeah,
uniquely new. Like, this is still this like when I
it's
heard
still a
the
raindrop
intro,
tune.
like, it's a raindrop tune, yeah.
Hell yeah. All right, next up, Trends with Jazz Rhythm Thing 2. This is like a perfect example of why we fuck with you so much, Trends. Like your creativity, like you just make so much different shit and you do it so well. Like you don't send in a whip until it's like properly mixed down, I feel. Even if it is just a minute and a half, you take your fucking time with that minute and a half.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
no,
chat says, needs more. We need more. We need you to finish that. Because that was really
the
cool.
literal only. Sorry, Kevin. The
No,
literal
you're good.
only thing that bothered me is when the chandelier. I know that's not the right term, but like the chandelier like shimmering symbols came in the very beginning. The resonance on them was just like really piercing for a second. And because I was able to hear that so prominently, I know what I'm saying next isn't me just tripping. I love the drop. The chord progression was so satisfying, and then the switch where the lead came in, I really liked the melody on that.
Mhm.
I just want the drop to be louder because I feel like it wasn't much louder than the intro, and I just feel like a level of brightness will bring this track to the next levels. I hate saying the same word twice in one sentence, but yeah,
Yeah, I think. Well, I love this whole idea. The kick in the intro was bothering me just a little bit. It's like a little too much of like a distorted rhythm kick, and then you have like the Rhodes going on like a really jazzy intro. I just think maybe just like even automate the level of the kick in the intro, something like that. Um, and then I think from a creative standpoint, I would really focus on that B section synth that comes in, because right now it's just kind of like a super saw, and it seems to be just kind of like wandering up and down your scale. So maybe I would maybe go a little bit more creative, like maybe do like a flute or something that's more of like a pure, closer to a sine wave tone or a triangle, rather than just like this really wide um, super saw that kind of just gets lost after a while. I want that to be like, I want that to sound like someone's playing like almost a real instrument. Uh, yeah, that's really all I got. This is sick.
Ryan, quick question. How would you feel about that super sauce synth being layered with something that you recommended, or would you rather just have it by itself?
Yeah, that could work too. Um, yeah, either way. Really, I just want that. I just want that to stand out more.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, they said everything I was gonna say. I really like this idea though, Trends. That when that lead comes in, it's super sick. It's just very satisfying. It's a very satisfying like progression to the tune.
Trends. So I think while we're on the topic of your intro drums, if you're gonna do a track, and not just you, but anyone, if they're gonna do a track where the intro is a different genre than dubstep, don't be afraid to go use a drum sample pack that is from that genre. Like, why don't you just go and try and put actual jazz drums on this? I feel like that could really bring this,
Oh,
musically to a different level. And that way, when the drop comes in, there's just like it's a lot more attention grabbing. You know what I mean?
yeah, analog drums would really be fire here.
All right. Next up, we got Why by Azriel.
I really like the intro. Oh,
I wanted to listen to what bass it was.
not.
I wanted to see what it sounded like. Jesus Christ, free stem.
so the intro was really cool. The underwater theme of it reminded me of like BioShock. Um, but like Devin said, the transition from intro to drop is very abrasive, and I feel like because of that, the drop itself loses its impact. Um, and the drop I think is also really good, but I think like those metallic guns could stand out a little bit more. But I really like the tune itself, like the idea that you have is really good. You're really good at making this like death step tear out with melody, and I really really like it. And I see what you were going for with this tune, and I really like it.
Yeah, so to play off what I've been telling you in the comment section, I think what this track could really benefit from is if you want to have the intro as an isolated piano just for the pure sake of atmosphere and storytelling, I completely get that. But if you want to do that, what I would personally do is kind of do a fade out a sub drop that goes completely fade out, and then kind of bring in more of a more strings, like whether it be a cello or maybe even some brass, just more sinister, the more sinister side of an orchestra. Because right now the death step drop and the intro just don't make sense together at all. You know, you need to do something that's just more cliche. Like, give yourself room to do something that's more cliche because the drop is so different, but like they just don't make sense together. As far as the actual mixdown itself goes, like I don't like death step. So I just want to say there's just too much white noise, but I feel like that is what death step is. It's just white noise, you know? So you could be doing that on purpose. I get that. But for me personally, like, tone down the white noise.
Yeah, that was one of the first things that I thought of, just the high end and the drop. This is pushed pretty hard, and you're not really allowing yourself to add any cool little details or calls and responses. It's like kind of just gun spam right now. I did also notice that the cymbals, I had to really like listen to hear the tops, the high end, the cymbals. It was just like I could hear them kind of in the background, but I didn't hear any of the transient. So maybe just ease up on the soft clipping and stuff like that, so you can be a little bit more creative in the drop. Because right now everything's just pushed way too forward. When you haven't like maybe added all the detail that you wanted to yet. Also, I mean, the main thing here is the contrast between the intro and bridge and the drops. Just add more fills, and you gotta do something to string those two together. Because right now it feels almost like two different songs, which is fine. But yeah, I mean, like blending a crazy heavy drop with this sort of like light piano, that's a difficult thing to do because they're so different from each other. But like in the intro, maybe they make the intro like 8 bars longer, 16 bars longer or something, and then actually have like a breakdown where it's just like one straight note instead of all that melody, and then that straight note leads up into a build or something like that. You need just a little bit more cohesiveness. But I like the idea. I really do.
Shout out Anbu for the $8 tip.
Oh my god. All right, so they definitely wanted to be next. All right. Oh yeah. Nice job, Gabe. I really enjoyed the flow and like everything about this fucking a lot more than some of the other ones, even though a lot of the other ones are like a lot more like cinematic and like create like little scapes. This one is more like simple, toned down, like easy for my dumb brain to understand. All right, we got Ambu up next. The illusion you're aware of.
How can this be?
The sporadicness of the drums is giving me an anxiety attack, but I liked everything else.
Yeah, I feel like it was like a long build up into like another build up almost. Like I don't know. But
It was very hard to catch a flow, to like
Yeah,
groove with it.
I did enjoy the guitar though. Like
Yeah, I think you just need like one thing that's repeating over and over, because like right now there's not a single element that's repeating, so it's just really hard to follow what's going on. It's a really sick idea. You're kind of like borderlining on the whole breakcore thing, where it's like, you know, just random breaks everywhere over like crazy chords and stuff like that. I would lean into the whole breakcore thing, maybe add even more chords and shiny stuff on top, because yeah, right now it's just I'm not really sure what I'm paying attention to.
or maybe
but
even
this-
some like different little fills to break it up. Like
Yeah, definitely, 100%.
Yeah, because I feel like breakcore in of itself is like jazz, and jazz is supposed to be like organized chaos. But right here, I'm getting more chaos and organization, and like I want you to keep the complexity, but there's just, like Ryan said, there needs to be something to grab onto that we can somewhat follow.
Agreed. It was very hard to like catch a
groove too.
to groove to it. Yeah, it was hard to like figure out what I'm supposed to pay attention to, what I'm really supposed to focus on. It was kind of all over the place.
But I honestly do feel like just some little breaks and stuff between some of that would have like even organized it a little bit more. But yeah, if you do that, just bring up the mix down a little bit. This will be fucking little breakcore banger.
Little breakcore banger.
Little
like that.
breakcore banger. All right, next up we got Quinto.
Quinto. finish it.
Yeah, I would say
Yeah.
okay.
No, you go.
Like maybe go into some parts where you actually go into like a solid flow for a little bit, because I feel like it was like just too like then like break, then like it just, I don't know, like if like the B section of the second drop, once you like put it in, if you just like go fucking full force in on it, like I feel like it could do some damage, because I feel like just with the brakes right now it just stops people from really fucking each other up.
Yeah, the main thing for me is the high pitch synth, the one that's kind of just doing the main like triplet melody. I think that's really cool, but I think you need to tighten it up because right now the tail is just kind of like going off into the distance and being kind of lost. And I feel like it would have more impact if you brought that in and made it sit in the middle more, and it'd be something that like gave the track a bit more energy. But again, you uploaded this track 2 hours ago, so I have no idea how much time you put into the actual mixdown.
I was a pretty big fan of the mix. I don't have much to say about it other than yeah, like 2 hours ago. So you're definitely gonna work on it more. Really, I love the intro. I think this was one of the better intros of the night. It was just, it felt like a real intro. Everything came together super nicely into the drop. I would say from like a creative standpoint, maybe do some reverb throws at the end of every phrase or something like that, or maybe even some like a delay on a bus or something, going from like 0 to 100% in the background or something, and just more like just detail, I think. Maybe get a little bit more creative with the drums or add more weird glitchy fills or something like that. Yeah, really just like play into your creative side and just keep going with this track because it's bouncy. I really like it.
Agreed. It's super bouncy. I really like the intro. The intro is an attention grabber, and it's a mood setter. It gets me like if people were to hear it live, like they would start to get excited. They'd be like, "Oh shit, someone's about to drop after this. That's about to be fire."
All right. Next up, we got Kaifu.
Uh-oh.
Raw 2023, 7/13, 1936. No. What? Holy fuck. Oh.
The smartest, most big brain submission of the night. The fact that you wrote this in 1936, before computers were even invented, is just insanity.
Yeah, that's
L- Literal only thing, and you guys might skin me alive for this, but when the growl comes in first on the first drop, I wasn't a big fan of that specific growl, but as it progressed over time, I fell in love with it. I don't know, it could just be a me thing, but I just wasn't the biggest fan of the first growl. Everything else, phenomenal.
I just wish
Yeah,
the
that's
vocal
fair.
sample in the intro was a little bit louder. That's it. Other than that, this was fucking amazing.
Yeah, Kai. I mean, you know, what I don't even know. I'm at a loss for words. I think one thing that I've been noticing about your music more and more is that your drops just come in a little bit too. They're a little bit too like jump scary for me sometimes. Like you got all this crazy synth work going on in the intro, and then your drops just drop like out of nowhere. And while that works a lot of the time for your type of composition, sometimes I do want to hear the drop synth like in the build, reverbed out or coming in from a low pass or something like that. Just because sometimes it comes in a little bit too hard and too fast, and I'm just like, oh, I had no idea the drop was going to be right there. But yeah, I mean, that's really all I got to say. Maybe in that little pot, like the break with the tiny little dink in the second, before the B section comes in, maybe just, add like a vocal or so. I don't know. I mean, it's Kaifu for real. There's not much to say at all.
Yeah, I appreciate.
To go, sorry, JT. I think the thing that made the first growl not hit for me was what Ryan was saying, that there was no transition between the intro and the drop, and just kind of came to that growl, and I think that was what was throwing me off. But sorry, JT.
I was gonna say I appreciate how unique Kaifu is, and like their songs are their fucking songs. Like they're not trying to like recreate a sound. They're trying to make their own sound, and I appreciate that heavily. But yeah, I do agree that the growl just come in a bit aggressive, but I do kind of like the more aggressive, no fake out, no build up type shit. Like just kind of get right into it. Like especially that last like fake out thing, like going to quiet, like the shush fucking thing, then into chaos. But yeah, very cool tune, very creative. All right. Next up, we got Chevy. Show me clip. Oh, my bad. Man pronounced it Shay.
Man said Chevy.
Chevy. I was like, yeah. Fuck Chevy, it's Ford truck pickup month. OG rhythm attempt. Let's go.
What you got?
I feel like
Okay,
First.
okay, you go.
sorry, I have a lot to say about the cymbals.
Go for it.
First off, this is a one synth driven track, which gets boring over time. But the thing is, the thing that makes it the most boring is the fact that when the drop comes in, there's actually no cymbals. Like, yes, you have that open hi hat hitting on the same time as the snare, which was a bit odd to me. It was kind of like driving me mad. But just the use of a simple hi hat going on, I think eighth notes, or yeah, it could just add a lot more movement to this track. But when you do bring in a cymbal, you brought in a ride instead of a hi hat, which also is just kind of like just super distracting. Like that should have been a closed hi hat instead of a ride. Um, this the kick drum wasn't cutting through at all. I'm not sure if it was the actual the kick the kick that you used or if it was a sidechain issue or both. But this track just needs better use of hi hats. Like there are other things, but first focus on the drums because the most important part of a rhythm tune is the drums.
Yeah, kick just needs to be either turned up or layered with another transient or something. And yeah, even though it's a very repetitive track, I think just simply adding a quarter note cymbal could really amp up the energy. Um, and then I was just gonna say in the B section or I guess maybe D section of your drop, towards the end, you just kind of just pitched the synth up, and then that was your variation. And I think a lot of people aren't really a fan of that just because it's like you already know what's coming. So I would maybe recommend taking this original synth, duplicating it, and then making it sound completely different from the first one for the B section. Just because if you're just gonna pitch it up a little bit, no one's gonna uh, be interested for what's to come next. So
Yeah, maybe kick that rate up a little bit, even. Fucking just switch up the synth and the flow even a bit, because like I mean, it was like a little bit of variation in the flow, but it was very minimal, and I feel like you were like rotating between the two variations back, like A, B, C, D, E. Like I don't know, but I don't know if you just wanted to clean up the cymbals and the drums a little bit, and maybe bring, I don't know. It would be a good doubling tool if you wanted to just keep it how it is with just fixing a little bit of the mixdown issues.
Yeah,
I do feel like this track would be
covered it.
hard to double too.
Definitely some variation in the drop, definitely, because it was getting very monotonous. Like I would even maybe layer something on top of those synths to like give it some extra swing or something.
Oh yeah. All right, next up, Black Rose.
So I like the idea. I like the strings that you have going in the drop as fills. I think those are really cool. One thing I'm not really too much of a fan on is like the downbeat like sub thing in the drop. I'm not really too much of a fan of that. I don't like it. Sounds kind of weird, but I mean I like the flow of the B section of the first drop, and then the second drop I like a lot more.
I agree about that.
Yeah, I think the mix is almost there. Everything is kind of fighting for um, their own spaces. And that one quarter note bass that's just going over and over, the chun chun chun. It just it feels mixed like completely differently than everything else. There's a lot of like mid high in there, and it feels like almost panned like a little tiny bit to the right for some reason. It was just like really wide, and I would just maybe just turn that down a little bit, add some like kind of smoother reverb to smooth it out, and EQ it up a little bit. Because everything else, the EQing and the relationship with the sub, it's working pretty well. But that one quarter note in your A section of your first drop in particular is just it's mixed completely differently. It just really stands out to me, and not necessarily in the best way. So yeah, that was the biggest thing for me.
JT, you were waiting patiently.
I was gonna say my main, right? Like how Cam said, I do agree that I'd like the second drop a bit more. It has a little bit more structure, and I could follow it. But he said he liked the B section of the first drop, but I feel like I don't know if that was the B section or even just like 1.5 section type deal in here when you brought like the lasers and everything in. I just feel like it was like too much going on at once, and I didn't know what to focus on. But the rest of the song, I did really enjoy the strings that you brought in and carried in to the actual drop.
I'm gonna disagree with JT on that, and then that doesn't really matter because this is all subjective. But I feel like one of the biggest things that was muddying up this mix for me and making it hard to focus on what was supposed to be the focal point of the drop was the fact that the strings did carry over from the drop to from the intro to the drop. I felt like there was just an overall overuse of wideness in every layer of this track, and I feel like everything was kind of being lost into the atmosphere, like orchestral, like vocal things that you had that carried from intro into the drop. So when the things like your dry quarter note synth came in and your bubble lasers came in that were mixed differently than everything else, they kind of took the focal point, and because they're more repetitive things that are supposed to be accents to everything else, they ended up becoming the focal point, and they're used as accents, so they're used more generously. It just became really repetitive. But beyond that, please, for the love of God, guys, not just Black Rose, everyone, can we stop fucking using that bussin' from the underground sample? Because the second I hear that, it takes any tune from being an original tune to a fucking NPC AI generated Lost Lands banger, and I hate it. I hate it so much. I'm sorry, but just find original samples, please.
All right. Next up, we got Trigabyte.
I just want to be called Niggabyte so bad.
And a pause before I said it. Nuketown V2. Why is that your name?
Always drop. Always drop.
Okay.
Always drop. Mother. Always drop. Mother.
Always drop hot shit. Always drop. Mother. Always drop hot shit. Mother. It's the motherfucking mother. It's the motherfucking nuke that I'm. Mother. It's the motherfucking nuke that I'm.
Yeah, I do really like the space in the first drop. Like, you
Yeah.
do know how to use space very well, where less is more, almost. But yeah, you already know fixing the mix down, so I'm not even gonna comment on that. But I really do like the idea of this, and like, this is a fucking creative tune.
I would
Yeah, I like.
almost say that you could even like change the second drop and do like something similar like how you did with the first drop. Maybe not like copy and paste it, but I think keep using like space the way that you did in the first drop and do it again in the second drop in an even like crazier way. Or just a more like unique way. Because I think that
Right.
going
Just
that
space,
like
or just
kind
spacing it out more, like,
yeah. Cause
just
I
catch
think that
people off guard
going
with it.
yeah like going back to like a regular like rhythm like dubstep drop like kind of like kind of took away the creativity and like the uniqueness of the tune a little bit, I think.
I mean that's interesting. Not wrong. Interesting because I disagree with that. I feel like the dynamics used in the first drop were used the perfect amount. And again, this is all subjective. So really do what you want to do on this. I personally like how on the B section or second drop, whatever, it became more straightforward because I feel like if you would have done more dynamics, I would have just been completely fucking over it at that point. But
That's
as far
true.
as the dynamics go, I think each of the posits could have had some layer in there that just had a dash of reverb on there. Because although I do like your use of spacing, I thought the flow was really cool and really unique. I feel like it was just a little too cut and dry for me, where it got a bit choppy at points. So just something with a little bit more tail, a little bit more transient on there, just makes it. We'll just make it flow just a little bit better, in my opinion.
Yeah. Dury, I think you sent this to me like a few days ago, like last week. I basically said the exact same thing. I obviously the intro just needs more stuff happening, and I'm sure you're gonna do that. I really do love your minimalist approach and what you've been doing with these types of tracks lately. But I will say what I said to you like last week or whatever. I think it's cool. The hard rests are really cool. But you need to keep building more stuff and adding more things as the song progresses. I think like something that I said was like at the beginning of the drop, the first little section of the drop, it should be like, you know, how you have it really minimal, but like the last drop, you have like a bunch of like random tiny little noises going on and like more tops, you know, more cymbals happening, maybe do more stuff with the vocal. And I do agree also with maybe a little bit of reverb. Maybe just, you know, send it on a return track and just have a little bit of atmosphere happening because those rests they're very cool, but they do catch you off guard for sure. It's because it's just like silence. So yeah.
Hell yeah.
And I think can be a good tool, but with this one, it has to be used sparingly. I feel like you can get away with like maybe one or two really spaced out instances of pure silence, but happening it as often as it just doesn't work right now.
Hell yeah. All right. Next up, we got Frogor. Croaked up.
The poison dart family is known for the many species of toxic frogs. The brightly colored exterior protects the frog from predators, serving as a sign of its toxic skin. The poisonous discharge can lead to paralysis and death. Poison frog. Poison frog.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Devin said it in the chat, but the drums weren't hitting hard enough for my liking.
But again, I really do like how you're going with the whole frog theme. Like, that is your sound. I know it's also like Chibs and a few other people's sound, but you're making it your own in a way. I feel like you're not just straight up copying the Chibs synth. But yeah, I agree. The drums do need to hit through just a little bit more, and then finish this shit. Like, maybe make the second drop even fucking like just crazier.
Even froggier.
Even froggier, maybe toadier.
Froggier.
Or just drop the frog thing completely and catch people off guard. Do fly synth, little buzz.
What the fuck is happening? Okay. So I feel like the drop is mainly led by the impact synth, but I feel like the impact synth is failing to have as much impact as it should. But that being said, there's just not enough. There's not an intense enough sidechain going on. So even though that impact synth is really weak and it fails to grab my attention, the kick is just being completely lost in all of that. So I think you just need to go in and really look at each layer and kind of mix things down to make sure that everything is fitting exactly where it needs to be. Because right now this entire track is just sounding like one layer, which like is a shame because you have some really cool sound design, but everything's just being meshed up into one, like I said, into one layer. And I know you really like frogs, but the one thing I have to ask you is if you plan on playing shows, would you as a listener want to listen to an hour of frog dubstep? Like how much frog dubstep can you have in one set?
That's a very fair point.
And like I'm not trying to knock your thing. Like you gotta have a thing. I get that, but it's like frog. I don't know, man. Like I just don't want you to pigeonhole yourself to a point where you feel like every song has to be frog themed because that's just not sustainable. And you know maybe you do have a bigger plan. It's just everything I've heard from you is just like frog, 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 frog.
Yeah, everything about the mixdown was already said. I think you really got, this is completely subjective, but I would, if I got my hands on this project, I would take that snare out immediately and beat it to death. I'm sorry, I'm not a fan of that snare for some reason. It's just like the transposed doink snare. I think we can maybe leave it in the past and go a little tighter with our snares. But that's just me, you know. It's all subjective, but yeah, that's everything else was already said that I was gonna say.
All right. Next up, we got Hoods. Submersive activity. I thought it was submissive activity at first. Yeah, Alienator, you're in like what? Two more.
Detecting some submersive Detecting some submersive
Yeah, I just feel like both drops, the mixdown was just like flipped, where the background like noises and glitches and stuff were like right up front, and the synth was sitting underneath them and not cutting through as much as it, like not punching like it should have, as well as the drums. But my main gripe was with the main synth not being like the top punch through layer.
Yeah, with this, I like the sound design a lot. I told you how I felt about that like digital stab that's in both the intro, build up, and drop. I feel like you could shave the high end off that because it's just really piercing right now. And I also think on the drop itself, it is a little too wide for my liking. I do like the call and response that you're using with it. I feel like that's very interesting, and I feel like it's fucking sick. I do. One, the kick wasn't cutting through for me at all. Neither was a snare. I just feel like there was just an overall lack of presence with the drums. And finally, I feel like this is one of those tunes where like the flow itself is insane, but there's a lot of low end on there, which is dope. I like that. But with all the low end, there wasn't that like the sub was just lacking warmth, and I feel like with the sub lacking warmth, the low end just wasn't hitting for me as hard as it was. This tune almost felt more like a deep tune than like a punchy rhythm tune, but I can tell with the way that this is structured, you were going for the punchy rhythmness. So I would actually like to hear some saturation on the sub, maybe even a little bit of erosion, because I feel like the sub is just kind of bleeding in with the low end from every other synth on this track.
Yeah, I completely agree. Hoods, the one thing about your music that I've always kind of wanted to see is like just a little bit more distortion, because you know what you're doing when it comes to sound design, and you've proved that over and over. But maybe just slam the soft clippers a little bit more and stuff, and just see where it takes you. Just because I mean the tones that you make are so unique. And I think if they were layered with some high amplitude, low end, those tones, those resonances can just like be helped even more. And also add the drums just needed a little bit of love. I think just straight up turn up all your drums.
So I really like the underwater theme. You did it very well with the sound design. But yeah, like Devin said, the drums were lacking, and I think when you fix those, like this tune will actually be like super solid. I really like the whole underwater theme that you got going on. You really nailed it with the sound design.
Hell yeah. Next up, we got Think Again. Tomato, playable.
If you like to talk potatoes, if a squash can make you smile, if you like to waltz
no.
with potatoes up and down the produce aisle. All right, better get on out there. I liked it. One time? Ooh. You play this. We got a show for you. If you like to talk potatoes, if a squash can make you smile, if you like to waltz with potatoes up and down the produce aisle. Have we got a show for you? Play that. Oh, look, Philly. Come on, it'll be fun.
I'm not lollygagging, you slackers. It's time to shake a leg.
So I feel like the vocal placement and everything was like fucking perfect. It's a very solid idea, but I feel like the synths in the first drop are like very mono and flat. Like they just don't have like the texture that I wish they had just to really stand out. But the second drop was a lot more, I felt was a lot more interesting, and like you went a little bit more in on the synth work, but still lacked a little bit of that texture that I like.
Hey yo, for your first attempt at rhythm, this actually isn't bad at all. I think the only thing that was really driving me insane, same with Devin, he said it in the chat, was the sub. It was really ignorant. It was kind of loud at certain points. Like it seemed like it was taking like it was like overtaking a lot of like the song, in my opinion. And then like yeah, like in like the break section, like Devin said, it didn't have to be going on right there. You could have like taken it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
You can go ahead.
you can go, Ryan.
Well, no, it's just the sub. I mean, I can't. You know, you're getting that two-note melody from the original song, and it's a kid's song. It's supposed to sound goofy, right? So I would say, don't take any of the writing from the original song and implement it into the serious parts of your song, the drops, because it really is. It's hard to listen to for too long because it's a kid's song sub. It should just be one note. And then I also think maybe take out some of those upper harmonics in the sub as well, just because it's a little too high on the spectrum for me. I needed to be hitting a little bit lower than like friggin' 300 hertz or whatever.
You're too high on the spectrum for me.
Yeah.
But,
So the thing is like an up and like a two-note sub isn't the worst thing in the world, but in this instance it is because all the rest of the synths that you have going on are atonal and like just one hit, especially because your main synth is that sweeping that like wah 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 wah, which is fine. It's a good synth. It works. But if, like Ryan said, that sub needs to be one note. The sub just needs to be driving that synth. But when it's going doon 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 doon, and I think too that you could actually shorten the sub and make it a bit more punchy. Add some erosion on there and just make it more like make it a little bit drier. Uh, and that'll give the rest of the song more energy because we're kind of just following this doon 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 doon, and because the sub lags or drags on, it makes the rest of the track feel slower, and it feels like I'm being dragged behind the back rooms and Chuck E. Cheese and tortured, and I don't I don't want to feel that way, you know.
Kind of enjoy that. All right. Next up, we got Alienator with Knockout V3.
That pause is really good.
Can I go first on this one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, I like the flow a lot. I do like the synth work. It's a little rough in the distortion area of things, but that could be a style choice, especially if you are, a Nimda fan. The one thing I will say is this track is just completely lacking mid range. The main synth is really on sitting on the highs, which I get that that's what tear out synths do, and then the brass is sitting on the sides. So I'm really just missing that focal point of something cutting through the middle. And what that focal point should have been is a very warm, saturated, distorted sub. I feel like that combined with the top layer of what you're doing with the main synth would have rounded the track out and filled up the empty space, but I can't find myself to truly appreciate everything that's going on, which you have a lot of really cool stuff going on because I'm just sitting there focused on the lack of mid range. It's like you made this awesome sandwich, toasted the fucking buns, put the lettuce and the tomato, a little bit of drizzle on the fucking, with the sauce, and then you forgot the meat. You know what I'm saying?
Damn.
Nigga
No.
said he got a vegan sandwich on
I
accident.
agree completely. Like, that's literally what was missing was just that like distorted fucking white fuzzy noise in the middle, just making it just fat and solid. But everything else about like I really enjoyed that second drop too. Like
I thought that was a super cool tune.
like
I agree with that.
the spacing and
100%.
yeah.
Yeah, I really just all this is lacking is just I just need a really nice mid-range piece of meat that's mono or very close to mono, just
You said
sitting
medium
right
well.
right there. medium rare, mono layer, right sitting right in the middle of this drop. And
Yeah,
yeah.
The reason I'd asked you what the key of this is because sometimes my headphones, and it's been a problem on the stream before, do struggle to pick up songs that are in D sharp or the key of D. But when the last part of the song came in, I was able to hear the sub perfectly, but it was still just flat and not warm. So yeah, just just saturate the shit out of that sub. Like I don't even think you need to add any more basses. Just if you're in Ableton, fucking throw a saturator on there, throw distortion, not distortion, erosion, and literally just fucking wide all the way up. I don't even care what number it is. Just fill the wideness.
All right. Next up, we got Clomp. Flesh and Blood V1.
Womp.
Clomp. About to be fucked. I feel like the highs were a bit high, but I feel like it was just a style choice, honestly. Like, Clomp knows what the fuck he's doing a lot of the time.
The build up
But
into a build up
the,
honestly kind of made me mad.
I'm pretty sure like, that was a build up into a build up into a build up.
Yeah.
But yeah, that did make me mad. But I did get fucking haunted circus type vibes from this shit.
I'm glad we're all in agreement that that pissed us off. Sorry, Clump, we're not taking the piss out of you. It's just, you know, like, as a listener, those are the things that you need to be careful of. Like, you can, like, less is more. And I feel like what you're trying to go for here is abrasiveness and shock factor, but you're trying to do so much at once that it's just become obnoxious and not in a good way. And, like, when you tame this tune, you want this to be obnoxious, and I understand that, you know what I mean? But there's a level of carrying it with finesse, and you're trying to do so much that you've just completely missed the mark on that, to the point where when anything happens in this tune, I'm like, what was the point, you know? So I think the biggest part of this for me, besides the stereo problems, is just the spacing on this and the pacing. Like, spread this track out more. It's 2 minutes and 24 seconds. I really feel like you can fit all these ideas into a 3.5 minute song if you're not trying to rush into everything. Because, like, by themselves, like, I get where you're going for, and it's really cool and unique, but it's just too much too quick.
Yeah, I did feel like I think the highs need to be tamed. The tops feel like they're clipping right now, and not necessarily in the best way. And then just that fighting for all the high end that you have with those like super dissonant basses. Definitely could use some EQ. And yeah, it is a little messy right now, just overall. I would just focus because the composition isn't there yet. I don't know when anything's gonna happen. And again, not necessarily in like the good way. It's more just like, okay, a random sound is gonna happen next. I love that I don't even know what you would call that. That's fucking really cool.
The clown car sound.
I was not
Downbeat shit. Yeah.
But no, that is insanely creative. And that last little bit, where you switched up the drums and everything is really cool. And you had those like little laser stabs. But yeah, I agree. Maybe just take every section that you made so far and then just lean in on maybe repeating it a little bit more instead of just introducing a whole new thing. Like 16 bars later. And I also, this is a 100% stylistic choice, but I would maybe think about doing something to the snare because there's just a lot of mid-range happening and not a lot of like clean snap with the transient. So maybe, I don't know, maybe some EQ or compress it a little bit just to bring out that transient and tone down that just really crazy donk that happens. But that's maybe a stylistic choice. But super fucking cool.
Hell yeah. Next up, AR Rolo.
I really like the main synth. I like it a lot. The flow of this is super dope too.
Yeah, I just think the synth could just punch through that little bit more to where it's just like a little bit louder. Because like when everything faded away and it was just the synth in these like couple little sections, it sounded fucking very crisp. But once everything came back in, it was still at that same level instead of being brought up just that tiny little bit just to hear the like texture that it actually had. I feel like it was just being lost in the actual drop.
Yeah, who's gonna tell JT that nothing he said was heard until texture?
Damn. For real?
Well, okay. You said that the main synth needs to punch through, and then you kind of started elaborating on that, and then you went silent.
Oh man. All right. Oh, it came through on stream. Let's go.
Okay. Okay. Cool. Cool. Cool.
Oh, word.
Yeah. Okay. So first thing, the like that is used in a sudden death Marauder collab, and on your intro, that just needs to go. Like that, you need to get rid of that. You need to either replace the patch that's making that sound, or replace the melody. Because right now, my brain is just going straight to that collab. And no offense, but this song does not compare to that tune. Secondly, the main synth, the Square 4-1, I'm in total agreement with JT. Like when that hit, I was a little bit sad because I was like, dude, this synth is so cool. If it was sitting in the middle of the track, this tune would hit so hard. But it doesn't. And I feel like all the synths in this track are just sitting on the sides way too much, and there's just really nothing cutting through the middle. And the closest thing that is cutting through the middle is that's happening. That, in my opinion, is happening way too much, because it's just like it feels like there's a fucking earwig crawling through my brain, and I just like can't pull it. I just can't pull it out. And there's all these like cool ideas going on, but like that it's just sitting in such like an annoying part of the song that's all I can focus on, you know?
Yeah, I definitely agree. I'm not a fan of like just repeating high melodies, just like kind of just stringing across drops for freaking 32 bars or whatever. It's just like, all right, everything else besides this melody it's hard to pay attention to. So I would maybe even just completely scrap that. I do want more crunch there at the end of the first drop, leading into, I think it was the kick on your build up leading up to the second drop. The kick clap had like that perfect kick clap distortion crunch, and then I didn't hear it again. So I would love to hear more saturation just overall. I think that would be really nice. And then also your main basses, they kind of sounded like two layered together. Those just need to be brought up a little bit and maybe tightened in the stereo field. Because right now the cymbal's hitting like a lot higher than the main synths, and you want the cymbal to kind of be at this almost the same level, so you create the illusion of the cymbal being kind of like a part of the main bass. But yeah, I mean, this is a super solid idea.
Oh yeah. Next up, we got Crucial. Mr. Malignant. That was fun as fuck. Adasic, you can submit since you cheered. I'll put your song in before we end. Just submit it to grocerymedia@gmail.com. But yeah, I really enjoyed how creative that one was. Like,
No disrespect to anyone else that submitted, but I just want to thank this song for proving to me that my headphones aren't busted and that mid-range just hasn't been used for the majority of the stream. Sorry, like but that being said, I do think the main synth could just be a splash louder. I felt like it was almost scratching the itch. It just could have been a little bit louder. Not even mixed down better, just literally louder. Beyond that, the flow wasn't bad. I feel like there could be either more energy in the flow and make it kind of like really energetic, or make it more swingy and stompy. But I feel like right now it's currently in this weird middle ground where it doesn't want to know if it wants to be more of like an interesting swing tune with interesting breaks, or like a really like punchy, drivey, quick, aggressive tune. That's all subjective, but that's just where I'm at. Everything else is done really, really well.
yeah, I agree. Like, I felt like it was getting more energy towards that like B section when like that like fucking ring growl thing came through and then like started like getting chopped up. I was like, oh, okay, I fuck with this. But yeah.
Sorry, I forgot. When that sustain comes in on the B section, I think I would personally like to hear that by itself, and then maybe with a different synth that hadn't been introduced yet, brought in as like kind of an accent. But I would have liked to hear that synth thrown up like 2 octaves and just make it really obnoxious, as a total like what the fuck is happening right now moment. But that's just me.
No, I was thinking the same thing. Like that synth would sound super cool if it was a little bit higher. So, it still sounds really cool now. But I was thinking like, dang, like, I hope that he like plays it again, but at like a higher octave.
Yeah, I don't really have much to say mixdown wise. The thing about these types of tracks is you have to get that sort of like gun spam sort of thing right, because after a while it kind of just sounds like disperser over and over again, and it's like Sweet Tooth said, it's bordering on just sort of randomly placed basses. And I think along with that disperser bass that you have, it would be really cool to have like a super like zappy sub, like that it pitch mods down really fast, like with most tear out tracks. I think I was just hearing that in my head and I was sad when it didn't come in. So maybe fool around with the sub. This is already a super creative tune, there's not really much to say, but yeah, any room, you still have more room to get even more creative, I think. So just keep going with your weird producer brain.
Let's go. All right, next up we got Tridenope. Ooh. Okay. I don't know. Maybe if the vocals were chopped up a little bit on some points, like going
I
along
think
with
if
like
you
the
did like a pause with like the
I don't-
vocal, like you
Yeah.
took it out and then brought it back, like keeping
Yeah.
it throughout the whole tune. Yeah, I can see how that's a little bit too much. But like I think if you took it out and then brought it back at certain points, it would be tight.
Yeah, like everything about the fucking like the square four and like that little like fucking like distortion like kick clap thingy you had going behind it sometimes like fucking perfect. But that that just fucking it's all I could think about the entire time. Dumbass autistic brain. But yeah, solid tune.
For me, it was just the repetitiveness. I know it's a rhythm track, but I just need a lot more variation. And with the, I'm not a huge fan of like choirs and dubstep, but that melody just felt a little, just a little, what's the right word? Stagnant, or I don't want to say boring, but it kind of just loses.
Monotonous.
Yeah, there you go. It just I lost interest in it almost immediately. And then yeah, get yourself a solid vocal. You know, really do some digging in acapella packs and stuff like that, and get a really cool rhythm vocal for this. And I did notice the clap is just not hitting as hard as I wanted to, amplitude wise and stereo wise. I think maybe you could just turn down the width on that clap a little bit and bring it up. But yeah, it's a solid idea for sure.
Oh.
Yeah, so I think the main thing that drove me insane about the chorus in the background was the fact that it was the same chorus used in the intro, and there was no separation or space or anything. It just went straight from the intro and continued on to the drop. So when the drop started, I was already over the drop because it just felt repetitive already as soon as the square four synth came in, and that's because of the vocal going on in the background. So like Cam said, like maybe you don't want to cut it out completely. If I were you, I would get rid of it completely, add some more interesting hi-hats and some more interesting cymbals to go in the background, because I think that square four is wide enough to just be the focal point of the drop by itself with interesting percussion. And if it's still not wide enough, just fucking slam some distortion on there, because this is the type of square four where more distortion actually works. But beyond that, break up the flow, make the flow a little bit more interesting. And I think this tune, the beauty of it is in its simplicity, but it does get monotonous at times. So even though I am asking you to make tweaks, make the tweaks more subtle, and you got yourself a banger on your hands.
Let's fucking go. All right. Next up, we got Vexus.
Vexus dubs.
Ignite Final.
Is Vexus here?
He was at the beginning. A lot of people just watch the YouTube.
Run one, let me bun one. Let me go on at them too hot for your suntan. We walk with the fire like we name Satan. L-O-N-D, when that's where me come from. Yo, run one, let me bun one. Let me go on at them too hot for your suntan. We walk with the fire like we name Satan. L-O-N-D, when that's where me come from. Run. We said extra life done. Heartbeat done. Everything done. Sound clash done. Argument done. From my team to the baby sound where run. Yo, we said extra life done. Heartbeat done. Everything done. Sound clash done. Argument done. From my team to the baby sound where run.
Holy wheel.
Yeah, I'm running the intro too. I want to hear this.
One of them too hot for your son. We walk with the fire like we name Satan. L-O-N-D, when that's where me come from. Yo, run one, let me bun one. Let me one of them too hot for your son. We walk with the fire like we name Satan. L-O-N-D, when that's where me come from. Run. We said extra life done. Heartbeat done. Everything done. Sound clash done. Argument done. From my team to the baby sound where run. Yo, we said extra life done. Heartbeat done. Everything done. Sound clash done. Argument done. From my team to the baby sound where run.
Hold on.
It got even better.
Run one, let me bun one. Them a go on at them too hot for your suntan. We walk with the fire like we name Satan. L-O-N-D-A when that's where me come from. Yo, run one, let me bun one. Them a go on at them too hot for your suntan. We walk with the fire like we name Satan. L-O-N-D-A when that's where me come from. Run, we said extra life done, heartbeat done, everything done, sound clash done, argument done. From my team to the baby sound where run. Yo, we said extra life done, heartbeat done, everything done, sound clash done, argument done. From my team to the baby sound where run. Yo.
Nah, fuck off. Played it for life.
This might have to be a play for a minute.
God.
Instant crowd banger. That
Like-
would get a massive reaction live.
Like vocals
would-
mixed down. Oh my god.
People
yeah.
would be shitting their pants live, dude. They'd be losing their minds to this.
And the flow's just
This is
so
one of the
fucking.
best- Sorry, you.
No. No, I was just gonna give him more compliments. You can go.
This is one of the best modern uses of grime I've ever heard in a track. The only thing to me that compares to it is the remix that Joe B just did of a Skepta tune. And the fact that I'm comparing these two, not saying that one is better than the other, it just goes to show you a lot, because this is exactly what I want to hear dubstep evolve into. You're paying respect to the roots of, Jamaican culture, sound system culture, selected culture, like all that shit, but you were making it modern and you were making it you. Holy shit. And like I said, I have been bitching about the lack of mid-range and the lack of worth and subs or every track that's been sent in. But goddamn, everything in this track is sitting exactly where it needs to be. And Vexus, you're someone I found out about through Yaks, and you were insane when I first met you. But this right here is your crowning achievement in my eyes. The only feedback I would give you is I want you to go and find a grime vocalist to do an original vocal for this song so you can release it. Keep it a plate for a little bit. But this deserves a proper delete, because this has anthem potential. Like, this legitimately has anthem potential. This is insane. Oh, it's a cleared sample? All right, bet.
Oh my god.
Good. Yo, no, dude,
Holy
shit.
With your permission, I would like to not only play this song out, but give it to everyone that I know would really fuck with this. People that really appreciate what you're doing and want to see this be more prominent in dubstep today. But this is fucking awesome, dude. Awesome.
That was a banger.
Yeah, I don't have a goddamn thing for you. This is the mid range we've been looking for the past 3 fucking hours. You just compensated for all the mid range we've been missing in one track. This is absolutely insane. Please, I will play this. I will play this at every fucking show. Please send me this. Oh my god. I legitimately don't have any feedback.
I think I'm gonna give the only cart to Vexus of the night. We forgot to do
yeah.
and Nair and Vexus. Yeah.
Nair. Two golden cards of the night. This is phenomenally done.
I'm still thinking about that Nair track.
Yeah. I want to go back and listen to that Nair track.
I have a request. Can we listen to this? Not right now, but this tune again and the Nair tune when the stream is done. I just need to hear those two in succession, because those tunes made me believe in the producers again.
After we raid over, I'll send them to you guys in Discord too, with their permission.
Oh, I already got Nairs.
Oh, let's go. All right.
I would like the Nair tune as well.
All right. Last up, Adasic. Still in Love.
JT, I'll give you one of my tunes to play at the end.
Okay. Let's go.
Whoa!
Jesus fucking Christ. Like I said all night, like asking for texture and synths, this song had like 140 different fucking textures. That was so goddamn pretty. And like there was so much going on, but it was so clear. Like everything had its own place in the mix, and it like still flowed well. Like it wasn't just chaos. It was organized chaos, as Devin would say.
I really like the phrasing in the drop. I like the use of the yoys. It was super, super sick. Like I could like I said in the chat, I could picture that like being played at like circuit grounds at EDC. Like that was a main stage banger actually. Like, and not in a derogatory way at all. That's like that's a money maker.
Yeah, so this is arguably the best mixed down tune of the drop, and I would go as far to say that this might be the smartest, most big brain tune of not the drop of
The night? Yeah, I get you.
yeah, of the night. And I would even go as far as to say that this is the most big brain tune of the track. God, you don't have fucking
track.
pride, dude. Fuck's sake. This is an phenomenally executed tune. It's interesting, it's energetic, it's bright, it's happy, it's euphoric. And the only thing I would say is on the second drop, there is a switch that comes in, I think maybe 8 bars after the drop happens. I would just skip the first 8 bars of the drop because that felt a little repetitive the first time I heard it. But when that switch came in, I was like, all right, the second drop just needs to go straight to this, just so there's no repetitiveness of this song. Everything else fucking beautifully executed, and I'm giving this a cart.
Cart.
Yeah, I give it a cart. That's a golden cart.
100% give it a cart.
3 carts tonight.
Yeah, I mean, compositionally perfect, harmonic perfect. I will maybe just say there's a little bit of mud going on. That is, I mean, you're going for like sort of more like the 2010s melodic dubstep thing, which has those sorts of drums and has that little extra muddiness going on. I don't mind it, but definitely a thing to watch out for, just in case you are trying to maybe even push this track even further with clipping or however you're doing your mastering. The sound design is absolutely insane. I really nothing to say about this at all. This is so good.
I personally don't mind the mud because of the glitches, but if the glitches weren't there, then I'd be in total agreement.
Yeah, because the glitches are really like shiny and clean. It is like the perfect contrast. That's true. Really great track. Oh my god.
All right. We got a Devon plate to end the night. Someone said I'm not allowed to date, so I wrote. This student said. Okay.
Not the full English.
With the angry.
Dude, Ellen made that full English for me.
Oh shit.
What the fuck am I, Nah. Shut the fucking no.
Don't make me start belling up smooth deep, cause he's just purchased a brand new rifle. It's a violent cycle, weed and peas, where my haters will much sooner see me bleed. And every other one wants a free CD, I'm like, no, shut it down, cause I need to feed. I'll kill MC, sure, that's more than likely. They would've win a war if they wanted to fight me. Try me, more messed up than inbred packers, I'm no deeper than Bree, Scratchy and Wiley. I'm not going to the piss with your sister, it's Mr. Rickstar, the big dick Hitler. Spray it down just to give you the picture, then fish in your kettle and rip off your fixture.
With the angry. Who the fuck am I, Nah. Shut the fucking no. Nah. Shut the fucking no.
Don't make me start belling up smooth deep, cause he's just purchased a brand new rifle. It's a violent cycle, weed and bees, where my haters will much sooner see me bleed. And every other one wants a free CD, I'm like, no, shut it down, cause I need to feed. I kill MC, sure, that's more than likely. They would've win a war if they wanted to fight me. Try me, more messed up than inbred packers, I'm no deeper than Bree, Scratchy and Wiley. I'm not going to the piss with your sister, it's Mr. Rickstar, the big dick Hitler. Spray it down just to give you the picture, then fish in your kettle and rip off your fixture.
Fuck off, wanker, dickhead, waste man. Fuck off, wanker, dickhead, waste man. Fuck off, wanker, dickhead, waste man. Fuck off, 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 fuck off,
God damn.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's tight. I like the grime vocals.
We bringing grime back, baby. 2024. We taking dubstep back to its roots.
Hell yeah. Thank you guys all for joining us tonight. Thank you for everybody who donated. Pretty much only got to fucking people who donated, gifted subs, or cheered. Shout out to all you guys. Shout out to Bassgalaxy for being here with us.
Thanks for having me, boys. Had a lot of
Appreciate
fun.
you.
And
Appreciate everybody.
we're gonna go right over to our friend Jay Vuggy, who's a fellow grocery boy. She's a streamer who plays Daisy, Valorant, bunch of different games. She's playing Daisy right now. So go tell her hey. Have a good one, guys. Again, thank you all for joining us. Sorry if we didn't get you to your submission, but we do this every week. See you guys next week.
Peace.
Later, taters.